Punisher vs. John Wick.
John Wick laid down in his house, resting after a final fight with Viggo. With his car damaged and a new pit bull by his side, John wondered what his next plans were: to return to the underworld or to live a peaceful life as he's been doing for the past 5 years. If it wasn't for Viggo's son that killed his dog and stole his car, he could have been living a peaceful life, John thought to himself. He took out a picture of his wife, Helen, from his locket, and reminisced about the peaceful times they had. Elsewhere in the south of New York City, Frank Castle, the Punisher, was watching the news about an entire Russian criminal organization was killed brutally. The Punisher was amused and asked Microchip to do some digging on the incident. He did not expect that there would be another Punisher wannabe on the streets, only he would punish the injustice. After a while, Microchip told the Punisher that he had several information based on the CCTV recordings and intel from the underworld organizations. He said that a man by the name of John Wick was responsible for the deaths of the Russian mobsters. He told Frank that John Wick is a legendary hitman who earned the moniker Baba Yaga, the Boogeyman, in the criminal underworld. John Wick was supposedly retired from being a hitman 5 years ago, but resurfaced in the recent weeks. Microchip added that John has multiple connections with other hitmen, and his fighting skills is on par or even better than the Punisher. Microchip said that there is an assassin criminals hotel where it is a neutral ground for all assassins to reside. It is known as the Continental Hotel. He showed the Punisher several video clips of John Wick fighting Viggo and his men on the docks. Frank looked at the footages and was impressed. One, because another person was killing the unworthy criminal scumbags on the streets. The second is because there was another similar person like himself. Microchip asked the Punisher what he would do now knowing the man responsible for the Russian mobster killings. The Punisher merely replied that he would do what he does best: punishing the guilty. Punisher told Microchip that John Wick is an assassin and has killed many criminals, therefore he is no different than the other scumbags. He told Microchip to prep up, as they're going to hunt the Boogeyman. A week has passed since Viggo and his family were killed by John Wick. John was taking his dog for a stroll across the boardwalk where he had his final date with Helen. It was a beautiful and peaceful evening. John received an unexpected phone call from Winston. Winston told John that he was glad that John was still alive after the encounter with Viggo. He said that his true purpose of calling him was to inform him that there has been some nosy activity around the Continental Hotel. Someone has been gathering information about John, Winston said. He told John to be cautious, as they were unable to pinpoint whether it is part of the High Table's doing or an outside. John thanked Winston and headed home. It was not a surprise for John to have someone tailing him. After all, his actions as the Baba Yaga was prominent across all criminal organizations. John headed home with his dog. As he was at his front door, he realized that something was amiss. Someone has broken into his house. It was like deja vu all over again for John. He decided to be cautious and told his dog to stay out of the house. John had no weapons with him and used his belt as a defensive measure. He wrapped his belt around his arms and entered the house carefully. John saw that nothing had been tampered around his house and everything seemed fine. Could it be his own imagination? Highly unlikely, as his predictions and instincts are always right. As he approached the kitchen, John saw something charging at him full speed. John was rammed through his stomach across the table. Being caught off guard, the intruder landed several more punches on John. John held his ground and saw his kitchen utensils next to him. He took a plastic bowl and smashed it against the intruder's head, but there was no effect on the intruder. The intruder choked John before slamming him across the kitchen. John caught his breath and took his belt, defending himself. He saw a man with a White Skull logo across his chest as the bright moonlight shone on it. He heard a man going around killing other criminals mercilessly. A man who waged a one-man war against crime. The intruder looked at John and said, Today's the day you will be punished, Baba Yaga. Punisher grabbed the kitchen knife and charged at John, who defended himself with his belt. They both tussled, and John managed to wrap the knife with his belt. He disarmed the Punisher and took the knife before stabbing the Punisher in the back. The Punisher screamed in pain, but looked at John with his bloodlust eyes. The same eyes John had when he was fighting Viggo and his men. The Punisher removed the knife from his back as though it was nothing before throwing it at John. John managed to dodge the knife as it landed on the TV. With such precise accuracy, if John's instincts were slower, he would have been killed with that lethal force. John and the Punisher clashed again, with both landing continuous punches at each other. The Punisher managed to grab hold of John before slamming him across the TV. The Punisher backed away a while and told John to get up. He said that the fight was far from over. John realized that he had a Glock in the drawer next to the TV where he was lying down. He threw the belt at the Punisher and grabbed his gun swiftly before firing several shots at the Punisher. The shots hit the Punisher's Kevlar armor and Frank retreated to the kitchen. Punisher's cheek was grazed by a bullet and he groaned in pain. Hiding behind the fridge, the Punisher broke the glass bowl before using its shards as a mirror to pinpoint John's location. As he was able to locate John, John shot the glass bowl and the Punisher played safe again. They both exchanged fires, but John had the clearer advantage in marksmanship. He remembered Microchip telling him that John has over 80% accuracy in his shooting skills. Even though Frank was a top sniper in his Marine days, John is just on another level when it comes to shooting. They ceased fire for a while before John asked Frank of his intentions of killing him. He told Frank that they never crossed paths before, so why now? Frank replied that there is only one Punisher, and that is me, Frank Castle. You're an assassin, and that means you're no different than those scumbags. John said that was his past, and his recent actions were only because of personal reasons. Frank refused to believe John and charged forward, firing a shot at John like a crazy person. John quickly dodged and rolled over to his bedroom. He wanted to retrieve his machine guns in his secret armory under his house. But to do so, he needed to go past Frank. Frank knew that John was near, but he could not pinpoint his exact location. With only several bullets left, Frank knew that he needed to get into close quarters combat with John. Frank was near John's bedroom before he heard several jeeps arriving outside his house. Frank thought that perhaps John's ally has arrived. John realized that the Punisher was off guard, shot the Punisher in his arm, disarming the gun before landing a straight uppercut to the Punisher. He got onto Punisher and pressed the wound of the bullet into the Punisher's arm. Punisher screamed in pain, and he grabbed John's finger before twisting it temporarily capacitating him. Both men were about to charge at each other again before they heard several footsteps entering the house. They both looked at each other. John asked the Punisher if he brought his friends, to which the Punisher replied that he does not have friends. John told the Punisher that he was not expecting anyone. John said that it could be Santino de Antonio's men. A few days ago, Santino approached John to fulfill his marker, an unbreakable vow symbolized by a blood oath medallion. Santino helped John to complete his impossible task of killing all of Viggo's rivals, to allow John to live a peaceful life with his wife, Helen. John declined to help Santino. Santino now seeks revenge on John. Punisher heard John's side of the story, but asked him, "How could I trust you? And why I shouldn't just kill you now?" John replied that he knows the Punisher is a man of honor, and Santino's men are also criminals. Killing them first would be their priority before they would resume their battle. The Punisher reluctantly agrees and helped John. As both of their guns were running out of ammo, John told the Punisher that they need to get into the armory opposite the bedroom. However, Santino's men were barricading the main entrance, and there would be about 15 of the men storming in. Punisher told John to hand over his shotgun, and he would make a distraction for John. During the distraction, John would retrieve the new guns and ammunition for them. John agrees and dashes to the armory. Santino's men were about to open fire on John before the Punisher stood up and shouted, "Hey assholes, you wanna dance? I'ma dance with you all." And he started firing his shotgun, killing several of Santino's men. The Punisher charged into the kitchen and grabbed a kitchen knife where his ammunition ran out. He sneaked behind two of Santino's men before slicing their throat. The Punisher was then pinned between 5 of Santino's men, who cornered the Punisher in the kitchen. Staying behind the fridge, the Punisher knew that he would not be able to take them all out at once, as they were armed with high-powered rifles from a distance. He then saw several gunshots and bodies thumped to the ground. The Punisher turned around and saw that all of Santino's remaining men had been headshot. One of Santino's men rushed to the Jeep to grab a minigun, but Frank chased after him before throwing a knife that struck him in the back of his head. With all of Santino's men dead, John knew that this was just the beginning for him. He looked around and saw the Punisher pointing a gun at his direction. John told the Punisher, "If you wish to kill me, so be it. After all, I am an assassin, and killing me is just part of your job, isn't it, Punisher?" Punisher looked at John's eyes and was about to pull the trigger when he heard a dog barking towards his direction. With the gun still aiming at John, Frank turned around and saw Pitbull barking at him. John told him that it was his dog that he recently adopted. He told the Punisher not to kill the dog as the dog was innocent. Frank looked at John and asked him why he killed those Russian mobsters. John replied that the Russian mobsters killed one of his final parting gifts from his wife, a dog named Daisy, and robbed his favorite car. He said that he was living a peaceful life with his dog, and his dog's death resulted in a personal vendetta. He asked the Punisher, "Have you lost any of your loved ones? Why are you the Punisher? Was it because of a personal vendetta?" Punisher knew what the answer was. John was no different from him. John killed those mobsters as they took his one thing he had left from his wife, his dog, whereas he became the Punisher when his family was killed for witnessing a gang event. The Punisher lowered his gun and told John that they are not so different and that he understands John's actions. He put the gun back in his casing and told John that he hopes that they would not cross paths again, as they are both men of code and honor. John asked the Punisher what he would do now. He told John that he would do what he does best, wiping all criminals from the face of the earth, beginning with the Continental Hotel. He told John to stay out of his way and left John Wick. John's dog rushed to him and started licking his face profusely. John Wick saw the Punisher leaving in the shadows and wondered what his fate would be now. Wrapping up. The Punisher is the closest realistic Marvel character in real life. Being a soldier, having peak human conditioning, and superior fighting with weaponry skills are the traits of the Punisher. This makes him an ideal combatant against John Wick in terms of guns and marksmanship, despite the Punisher being a top sniper in his Marine days. John Wick has shown greater prowess in defeating the Punisher for his skill. However, when it comes to close quarters combat and pain tolerance, the Punisher edges John Wick. Both of them live by a code of honor, which is only to kill their targets, which are other criminals. They never kill or harm innocent people live. In this fan fiction, John Wick sought revenge against those who killed his dog, while Punisher was under the impression that John was no different than other criminals. After realizing his true motives, the Punisher realized that John Wick was no different than him and left. Between the MCU universe and John Wick stands a higher chance of winning. However, if it was the Punisher from the comics, we have seen that the Punisher has defeated the Avengers, X-Men, and even outclassing the Sentry. And if it were to face John Wick, the verdict of the winner is clear. That's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to tune in to more What If Verse fanfictions, and do comment on which verse series you would like to see next.